I'm here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm doing something really exciting. I'm working with COS Productions on a book trailer for my book, New Moon, which will be out in March. And being able to do this book trailer is something really exciting to me because it's my story coming alive. And I spent all day yesterday watching it being filmed with the production crew. They were really, really professional. And we flew in actors from California, Jimmy and Kaylin, and they were wonderful. So it was a fun experience for me, but also very gratifying. And it's a new way to showcase my work, to get people who maybe haven't heard about me, and also for my fans to get to know about this new book. You know, something else, I've got a surprise for readers and for my fans when they see this book trailer. They're going to see something they're not expecting, but I'm going to keep that as a surprise. When I was a kid, I read a lot of fantasy and science fiction, and one book I read when I was 15 that I really loved was Darker Than You Think by Jack Williamson, and it was a werewolf novel. And actually, Williamson made me want to be a werewolf, but I carried that story around with me for years in my head, and I kept thinking, I'd like to write something like that. And then I read another book called The Wolf's Hour by Robert McCammon. It was another werewolf story, and it was like, wow, I really love this stuff. I'd love to write a werewolf book, but who would buy that from me? I kept thinking, nobody would buy that from me. But I got the idea, how could I do it differently? Suppose I had a private detective who was a werewolf, and he used his wolf senses to solve crimes. And I kept thinking about it, and a friend finally said to me, I've been hearing about this for years, either write it or shut up. So I said, okay, I took the challenge, and I came up with a proposal for that story, an outline for the whole story. And actually I gave it to that friend and said, does this work? And she said, yes. So at the time I was writing steadily for another publisher, but I thought, I'll just see if I can work this in around my day job, because I thought, I have to prove I can write this book. Nobody's going to buy it on a proposal. So while I was writing other books, I worked this in around it, and I finished it. And the way I wrote it was to say to myself, this is just for my fun, just doing it for fun. But by the time I finished it, it was, I really want to sell it. And at that point, my agent had retired, and I had to find a new agent. So I made it a priority that I find somebody who loved my werewolf book, and I did. And he said, this is really good, but it's going to be a hard sell. Now, that was before paranormal became really big the way it is now. So I wrote one werewolf book, and then they said, and we'd like another werewolf book from you. So it was like I found myself writing a series when I didn't know I was going to be doing a series. So I had one werewolf, Ross Marshall, and I made up a life for him and a family and rules for his family. For example, in a wolf pack, there's always one alpha male and the others are all subservient to him. But I didn't want to write about any guys who weren't alpha males, so I said, well, in my werewolves, they're all dominant, but then that means that they can't get along very well together. So they're all loners. They have to leave home when they get to be young men because they fight with their fathers. They don't get along with their brothers. And that was what his life was like. But Ross really has a feeling for family, wanting his brothers and his cousins to work with him. So I started with Ross Marshall, my werewolf detective, and then I've written about other men in the Marshall family. And it's a small family because being a werewolf, the way I set it up, is a sex-linked characteristic. So only men can be werewolves. If a girl baby is conceived, she dies. And half of the men at puberty, when they change to werewolf, half of them die. They don't make it. My last book was Shadow of the Moon, and it centers around a private club in Washington, D.C., where there is an evil from a parallel universe lurking in the basement. And that's the story of Lance Marshall. And the life mate he meets, Savannah. But in that story, I introduce a woman who is also from a parallel universe, who was chasing that evil and trying to eliminate it. And the Marshall werewolves and their women meet her. And so we don't know exactly who she is. But in the book that I've got coming out in March, which is New Moon, I start a whole new phase of the Marshall family and of my Moon series. And I'm using that woman from the parallel universe, because it turns out that she comes from a universe where lots of people have paranormal powers, not like our world at all. When Logan Marshall is running through the woods, he's caught in a trap for shapeshifters, and a beautiful white wolf comes to save him. He can't believe it, because there are no female werewolves, and she changes into a very beautiful woman, and she gets him out of the trap. And that's how New Moon starts. And they go to the parallel universe that she's from, and then they come back here. So it's a very different story. I've introduced elements that I would never have been able to have in the Moon books because of my new universe, and because Rena is a different kind of werewolf than the Marshalls. And not only is she a werewolf, but she has another shape too. She's able to change into a beautiful white bird, which also astonishes him because he's never seen anything like that. One thing that's really exciting to me about producing this book trailer is that Jimmy and Kaylin are so perfect for the characters in the book. And when I looked at her, I was looking at pictures of actresses who might be in this trailer, and I saw Kaylin, and she looked exactly like the picture of my character Rena on the book cover, and I was really excited to get her. I was very glad she could come to be in this book trailer. I'm relaunching my website soon, and you can find out more about me and my books at the website, which is RebeccaYork.com.